It is turning out hot though.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Devil's Advocate, a video game podcast. Here with my friend Keaton, who just burnt some shit in his kitchen and is now burning down his house as we speak. How you doing, Keaton? How's the fire?
I'm doing good. I'm gonna piggyback off of what you just said there. Yeah, I'm working on beating Bobby Flay for anyone out there who watches the Food Network.
See, I don't watch the Food Network, so you're making all these references that I don't understand.
I got me some pork chops made, man. I got me some instant mashed potatoes.
Do you like pork
some
chops?
mac and cheese.
Do you like pork chops?
Yeah, why not?
I hate pork chops. I don't know. They're just always... Maybe I'm not having good pork chops. Like, maybe that's just not a thing in my family. Like, no one knows how to make pork chops. But I guess you're technically part of the family, but... You know.
Yeah. But you love bacon, don't you?
I do like bacon, but pork chops... There's just something about them. They've got like a gravel taste, like they're like almost like dirt. Like I'm eating dirt.
It's the same critter. But I was just saying that because if y'all hear some noises, we're multitasking tonight, and I'm working on my chef skills here while giving y'all some beautiful, luxury-based gaming news and podcasts from the opinions of those you trust most. So if you hear some stuff, it's a little off night, but I think it'd be kind of fun, Multitask, let us know what's going on.
Speaking of...
For those,
looks
if
like
anyone who's...
Last episode, Keaton, we were up to 450 views.
Shoot, man, we gotta be doing something right. We're satisfied with those numbers. I mean, some people would be like, "Man, that's rookie."
That's
numbers.
low. I know. I'm like, yes, that is where I would like it.
Yeah. So just going off the news that you just told me, yes, I'm making some frozen broccoli right now. A little bit of garlic pinch, a little bit of salt.
Dude, I love
and
broccoli. Broccoli's like, as far as vegetables go, broccoli is top tier. Top of the food fucking chain.
Oh, yeah.
Broccoli. Steamed broccoli. Put a little sauce on there. My dog back here, who's sitting on the bed right there, also loves broccoli. Don't you love broccoli, Oliver?
See, we're just trying to open up some things here, have some good time, let the audience come in, and really learn who we are, how we operate.
Yeah, there you go.
You might hear my wife or mother-in-law here in a minute because... I like to multitask, just like in the video games we play, man. You look at that quest log, and there's 15 different quests you got to do. You come across one that you're trying to complete, but you might deviate just a hair because why? You got to complete it. We multitask here.
I need to upgrade my freaking bow and arrows in Horizon because they suck shit right now. So that's all I did today. I just went and did a bunch of upgrade stuff.
And look at that segue, man. Tenors, professional people. Y'all need to.
So great at segues.
we don't have a Patreon, but we did throw a couple hundred our way.
But no, obviously we got Horizon Zero Dawn. I think you've been playing Elden Ring, right?
Well, of course I play more Horizon because I've had more time with Horizon.
Gotcha, right.
But
same here.
I have played Elden Ring too, and that's I think kind of like as we alluded to prior to this is that's the general idea of this podcast is to dissect probably the two best open world games of 2022. I don't know what's going to beat it because God of War I don't think is considered open world, and you're definitely on the train that Breath of the Wild 2 is not hitting this year. So this is probably the two best.
So Keith, I want to ask you a question, which is something that was posed to me in a group chat just the other day before we get into talking about Horizon and Elden Ring, all that jazz. But so with the Elden Ring reviews that came out, they got 10 out of 10s, so many 10 out of 10s. It's got like a 90 something on Metacritic, high 90s. I don't know what it is now, but I know last time I checked it was like 98. So do you think? And I looked, thinking about all the games that come out this year. Do you think anybody's going to get close to that?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Breath of the Wild. That's what I said. If Breath of the Wild comes out, then that's the only one I think has a chance.
it has to be close. And I'll be honest with you, I think God of War 2 might be close too. And I say 2, I know it's called Ragnarok. Excuse me, people, if you want to lash out at me, send it in the comments. I don't even know if we have comments. But my big thing is
a few here and there.
And this is the best conversation to have. Now, I haven't beat Horizon. I haven't beat Elden Ring either. I played about 8 hours of Horizon and about 3 of Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
So when we dive into this conversation, like I'm going to allude to, first of all, where the gaming industry possibly can go, which is extremely exciting in both directions, and why I think Elden Ring is getting the reviews as whereas like Horizon didn't, if that makes any sense. But also why I think Horizon, in some ways, man, I don't know if we should just dive into it because there's like, I've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, you know, in so many ways, like Horizon does, in a weird way, probably 9 out of 10 things better than Elden Ring does. And I don't care who you are, what you do, how you play, when you want to do it. But it's so weird because Elden Ring does that one thing, I think, so exceptional that it overshadows Horizon. And to me, I've been thinking about that. Like, that's a weird conversation to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the same thing with Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild, when it came out, even like compared to Horizon, dude, very little voice acting. I think literally it was like The King and Zelda was the only 2 that had voice acting. But yet it surpassed almost everyone across the board because it did, again, that one thing. And I mean, that's just this, you know, conversation. I know we'll dive into it on this podcast, and I want to hear your thoughts. Anyone else in the community that I know we got to set up some kind of Twitter so whoever is listening to this can actually reply back to us in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's the gist of this conversation. So whenever you're ready, how you want to structure it, we'll dive in.
Let's just talk about Horizon first. I guess since I've actually played that one and can kind of like contribute, but let's hear your overall thoughts out of it. Like, where is it sitting, you know, out of 10 for you right now? With me, I think it's probably sitting around a 9 or a 9.5. I really enjoy it. I like it better than the first game. So much better than the first game. Holy shit, much better than the first game. And if you recall, I just beat the first one before I got into this one. And it's tremendously better. And I think there's so many wow moments of every time I start this fucking game up, I look at it and I go, holy shit, this game looks good. Every single time. Every single time. If I'm away from it for a couple hours and I just reboot it and I'm back in, I'm just like, holy fucking shit, this game looks amazing. And I messed around with photo mode a lot too, just because I'm weird.
That's probably my biggest complaint on the game, by the way.
Photo mode? Really? I love it.
No, that's not that I use it, but every time I accidentally click on it and try to exit, it's like, are you sure you want to exit photo mode? And it's like, are you sure you want to exit photo?
See,
I'm like, yes.
See, they did that to me, and I was like, no, I'll play around with it. I'll play around with it. I just want to see what it is. And then I'm just like, holy shit, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I actually have screenshots and stuff, which I did that for Miles Morales. But, you know, I've never messed around with photo mode. I never cared to. But I'm just like, well, this is cool. This game's pretty.
Yeah, and so I guess I'll piggyback off that. 9 out of 10, I definitely would say at least a 9 out of 10. Okay. At times, I would actually even say a 10 out of 10.
Ooh.
And the reason why I say that is because of, and this is where I was kind of alluding to, and we'll have to dive more into it, it is well, I think this industry may be the best entertaining or media industry there is possible. Same thing with, you know, I guess movies, because like some people like horror films, right?
Yep.
And then some people can't stomach horror films. So, and also there hasn't been a solid horror film like that's legit, like phenomenal outside of like It One, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But what I'm alluding to is games, I think, are divisive. They're becoming more and more divisive, of course. A lot of production value applied.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money put into these things. For an open world game, and I'm actually playing on quality mode, which is locked at 30 frames per second. Mm-hmm. And I went to the other mode. Man, we're about to do our, you know, devil advocate rabbit holes here.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
listeners. I guess this is why you listen to this stuff.
I guess so.
I can't play on performance mode because of it hurts my eyes.
Performance mode is the 30, is the 60, right?
No. That's quality mode. Performance mode is 60 frames.
Yeah. I haven't even changed it out of quality mode.
So I play on quality mode, and I know some people cannot play at 60 frames per second. But dude, they do this weird thing, and I'm not too technical on this, but like the grass becomes like oddly sharp, and like the foliage becomes oddly sharp, and it literally is hurting my eye to play on 60 frames per second.
I might test that tonight. I'm curious.
You can actually tell a difference in how well it runs and how smooth it is, because 60 frames per second is better, and it's running a little bit better than 1080. But like the world around me is literally hurting my eyes. Like there's so much. I'm calling it visual noise right now. Yeah. There's so much visual noise that I can't actually play in that mode because of that reason. And I know that's weird. Yeah. And I don't know if that's something that can be fixed, because I'm sure that it can be fixed, because I mean Elden Ring does something similar to this. That's a whole different. We'll get into that too, because Elden Ring's performance is a hot topic right now, more or less. But it's just weird. So yes, I'm playing on quality mode. So playing on quality mode, I think it's quality. I'm sorry, guys, if y'all want to burn me in some kind of comments or whatever.
Yeah, whatever mode.
Dude, it's hands down right now the best open world game I've ever seen. Period. I can't tell you another
the best
game.
Looking is what you're saying?
Yes, best looking. Like the foliage, what's going on the screen, like there's nothing right now that compares to it.
It's insane.
But here's what I think is more impressive than anything, and this is where I was kind of alluding to the future of video games in two different directions. The facial animations and quality that goes into the acting, even to the point of side quest errands, which again we're about to jump into because that's another beef I have with this game, and to main quest, blows my mind. Like we're actually getting to the point to where you're looking at cutscenes that actually, sorry guys, I just poured some macaroni in my boiling water, but we're actually getting to the point to where video games are starting to look like actually directed movie scenes because of just facial expressions.
Yep.
And that, to me, and the reason why I think Horizon, because Last of Us 2 actually kind of did this on the prior console.
Yeah.
Again, I had beef with the story, but with the technical technically what that game did, dude, again, I'll give that game kudos left and right, because it pretty much hit on PS4 and PS4 Pro. And that is phenomenal, which, again, who knows what Naughty Dog's doing next, but dude, are we not excited. But regardless, Horizon is taking it to the next level because it is open world, right? They're not focusing necessarily on this stuff. But, dude, they are killing it, man. Horizon is killing it, period. And some of these facial expressions, the way, the delivery, just...
Have you played with the photo mode facial expressions?
I have not, actually.
That.
So you might have to allude on that a little bit.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're just realistic facial expressions. You could change her face to, like, any different mood or anything, basically.
Really?
Yeah, and they all look, super realistic. It's super cool. That's what I was saying. I was like, I played around with photo mode just to see what weird poses and faces and stuff I could do. And then, like, you can zoom in on her face and see the little peach fuzz and stuff on her face, and the reflections of the environment are in her eyes. So it's insane. I'm just impressed. So that's why I play around with photo mode.
Now I will say, photo mode, I believe in some ways, in some capacity, I believe they do render up when you go into photo mode.
They probably
because it is that mode.
Yeah, because everything's frozen. It's a still image. So I'd believe that. Because
per quest and per definitely main quest and per cutscenes, like the facial expressions, which kind of like I'm alluding to, and like the interactions between two individuals like talking, like I said, that's where my mind's blown right now, because it is phenomenal. It's actually engaging. But dude, there's so many games where like cutscenes happen or NPCs are talking with you, et cetera, and I just pull up Twitter. On this one, dude, like I'm actually watching it because I am just enamored by the conversation that's happening, the back and forth, and it is wonderful. It's beautiful. It's engaging. It is like this can be the future of video games in so many ways, not just open world. It's just kind of more impressive because it is an open world game. You know what I'm saying? So like, if we did one of them adventure game, text-based games, like you would expect that, right? Like what's that
Like
game
Pokemon.
called? Detroit Becoming. Hey, yeah, not Pokemon.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about the text in Pokemon where you just press A and you don't give two shits.
I meant like, yeah. I meant like text-based, like Detroit Becoming Human.
Yeah, or like a Telltale game.
Actual, yeah. Where like their main focus is to draw you in and tell a story.
Yeah.
So like that could be what 80% of the resources are going to is to portray the feelings that this character A and or B would be, or whomever goes up to whatever alphabet you want to, would be portraying. Whereas like Horizon does that, I think, phenomenally, but on the scale of no other game that has tried to do that yet, if that makes any sense. Now, I will say, because people are like, man, did you not play Dying Light 2? Because Dying Light 2 does...
I didn't play the first one.
Dying Light 2 is right there with Horizon, actually.
Yeah.
I think Horizon is slightly better. And the reason why I kind of say that is because the way they frame it and the way they put it is like, you will see certain shots, almost like a movie shot. Mm-hmm. So like you're doing a side quest and Aloy is talking to XY or whoever it is, and it gives you a cool shot. Whereas in the Dying Light 2, it's always from the first person perspective. So you never see your character's expressions, if that makes any sense. But Dying Light 2 definitely does have some very impressive facial, characters, whatever it may be. Like, they're pretty solid too. But that's kind of like, I guess I would say my first, like, holy crap, games can become this. Games can become a different art of storytelling because we're getting to the point where the technology is catching up with, like, portraying where you don't have to use your imagination. And I want to look this up right now, and if you don't mind, I looked it up for the podcast. And if you don't mind, because I want the shout out for her name, the girl that plays Aloy. Kudos to her,
Ashley
man.
Birch.
Yeah, Ashley Birch. Yeah, she killed it. Aloy in the first one, and I haven't got, like I said, I haven't played as much as I should, and hopefully this doesn't change. But dude, she absolutely kills it.
She does.
Kills it.
Yeah.
And kudos to her, with graphics and whatnot. The only thing I'm going to sit there and say, oh, my wife's yelling for me. What, honey? What's up? We're on a podcast. Who's bleeding?
Blood all on the floor beside your headset.
Oh, she not. You can cut this, right?
Yeah.
Can you cut this, or are we going to do this live?
Just press pause. I'll talk for a little bit.
All right, go ahead and talk.
Yeah, so Horizon with me, the story of Horizon 2, at least, was what really impressed me with the game. Because in the first one, I didn't give a shit. Granted, it was a lot of, intrigue of how did this world happen? Who is Aloy? Who is, what is this Hades machine, this corrupting machines? What is that? But it never engaged me. We went to all these different settlements, and they all had different, reasons for being these different settlements. And it was basically excuses for us to be in different types of environments, I guess. But none of the settlements intrigued me. None of them made me think, I want to hear what this guy has to say. I skipped through all of it mostly because I just couldn't get entertained by it. Silas was okay. He was different. But this game, holy shit, I was super enthralled with everything that's going on. There wasn't really a main villain of the first game. It was that Hades thing, but he didn't really show up until, midway in the game-ish. It was more just like, ooh, the machines are corrupted. There's, not a seen villain. There's no villain that I have to, root and prepare myself for besides these corrupted machines, which is okay. It's a Monster Hunter type game to where I'm destroying monsters and doing weird stuff. But with Horizon 2, we're getting this, big story. There's an actual villain, which was freaking... There's a scene in the game which is freaking badass of, you're in this little... You're just going into the Forbidden West, and you come with these tribes or whatever that you met the first game, which is cool because you have that little, back and forth. Silas has a bigger part to play in this game as well. but there's a scene, and you'll know if you play Horizon, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a scene where you're in like this canyon, and this rival clan attacks you, and you're fighting all these people in the rival clans, and they send big gladiators. So you're basically having this huge gladiator fight, and it's just so fun. It made me care about the characters. It made me, want to keep going. I didn't have that in the first game. It was all fighting monsters and stuff. But now I've got a villain who, I want to see the end to. I want to know about this villain more. I have more intrigue to these rival clans. And the Forbidden West, being the Forbidden West, I actually do care about Gaia and saving the saving the world, because now I've got a reason for everything. I've got a reason for why I'm going to this place to do this. I got a reason for why I'm going to this place to do this. And I want to get better, because the game actually has a little bit of a difficulty spike, which I don't think the first game really had, which is, better than the first game in every way, for me at least. So that's why Horizon 2 ranks so high with me, is mainly because of that story, and the intrigue of the characters, like Keaton was talking about earlier. The cutscenes, like I said, the first game, I skipped through every single damn cutscene. This game, I'm super intrigued. I want to see what's going on. The animation, the voice acting, everything's great. And when, every cutscene, even if it's stupid, and you'll meet some side characters who aren't really going to affect the story that much. But their conversations are still intriguing, and they get you interested. And the environments, holy crap, the Las Vegas in this game, spoilers, there's going to be a Las Vegas segment of the game.
Can't wait.
Super
Put it all
cool.
in black.
Yeah, right. It's super cool. The graphics and the neon lighting, it reminded me a lot of Miles Morales, where the screen just looks amazing. And then you'll notice some landmarks and stuff, which is amazing in itself. And holy crap, the underwater swimming. Keaton, what game has ever got underwater swimming right? This game did. This game got underwater. Yes! Yes, it did.
I mean, it may be the closest, right?
Dude, it's the best looking. It's the best looking. And it makes me want to go underwater swimming, because you actually get to see cool shit, and there's a reason behind the swimming. Instead of just, here's a whole level where it's very hard to control and you don't know what the fuck's going on. This game actually gives you a reason to explore the depths and go and collect things, and it looks very pretty, and there's robots that are alligators and scary stuff. So yeah, that's why I like Horizon's story, and that's why I like Horizon 2 so much. It's so much of an improvement from the first game.
It is. It took what was best from that game, and it kind of extrapolated to this game.
Definitely. How was the blood?
Sorry, I went look right there. Yeah, it was fun. We got it cleaned up. It's all good. But what I was alluding to, I don't know if you feel this or not, and this is one of the things, a couple of my gripes. The first one is, I don't care for the quest log. Because I ran an errand that was a side quest, and I ran a side quest that should have been an errand.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't understand, and that's all throughout the game, and I don't get that.
I don't get the difference.
Yeah, and that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I just feel like they should all be side quests or errands. One, just make them one or the other. Don't make them the same but different.
Yeah, exactly. So, because the errand that I ran, it gave me a piece of equipment that's actually pretty feasible and usable throughout.
It's very usable, especially when you're facing larger enemies.
So I'm assuming that can be completely skipped, right? If you do not run that errand?
It can be, and you will have the ability to buy it at a shop later in the game.
Okay. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I just recently did, and that's one of the things that I upgraded, because you can upgrade. Through the game, you're going to find stuff that's rare, very rare, and then, uncommon, which is what you start out with, pretty much. And later in the game, you start running into stuff that's more rare to very rare from shops that you can go by doing jobs and making jobs to go, collect different resources. And they're honestly like boss battles, which is kind of cool to me. Like today, I fought a desert creature thing. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it's this huge freaking digger thing. It's honestly the biggest monster that I fought in a Horizon game. So it's coming out of the water. It just come out of the sand at me and attack me. And it was super cool, but I had to get that to get the very rare item weapon upgrade that I wanted.
And that's what I'm alluding to, because like I feel like you could be easily a side quest because this game has some of the best side quests, dude. Some of the side quests you can't even tell that it's
they feel like normal missions.
Yeah. So like in my head, I'm sitting there, and like when I was looking at it and going through these lists and stuff, and I was like, one of the errands. This is not much of a spoiler, but you get access to these pits, melee pits, 100 pits, etc. That becomes like an errand.
Yeah,
technically, and you're like, okay, I can get that because like that's literally screams completely optional. Completely optional. You don't have to do any of that. I'm sure there's some items locked away, certain things that are locked away. Of course, achievements if you're achievement hunting, but like it's completely optional, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Makes sense. And then literally the next one I get assigned is a useful weapon.
Yep.
Across the board.
Yep.
So it's just like, I don't get it. You know what I'm getting? Like, I just don't understand where they're coming at from there. Because they could have done, I feel like, quite a bit better in
explaining.
Yeah, for sure. So that's one of the big things.
On the bright side of that, they made me care about side quest, which never happens.
Well, yeah, that's...
it never happens that I'm interested in side quests. So, with this game making me feel like the side quests are almost equivalent to the story missions, it makes me actually want to do them, which is very surprising.
Real quick, because, again, on this podcast, I'm going to go mute for just a second. I actually want you, for the listeners, give you a beat by beat and explain, as of right now, your favorite side quest and why it is what it is.
Oh, no.
And why you do it that way. So while you do that, give me like 2 minutes. I'm going to listen to you, and we'll get back to it.
All right, sounds good. So my favorite side quest is probably actually the one that I was just talking about earlier. It's that big giant berserker, which isn't even a side quest, by the way. It was actually a job to get an upgraded weapon. So it was actually to get the upgraded spear, and then I did another one that was the upgraded tinier bow. It's like a tiny bow. It reminds me of Bloodsport from the Suicide Squad movie. Bloodsport, he has the bow on his arm, and then he just, spreads it like that and shoots it out. It's like that. It's just a tiny bow, and you can do it with Aloy, and if you get up close to stuff, you can just kind of shoot them. It's super cool. It's a super cool weapon. It's a very rare weapon, too. But I think it was either from this mission or another. I can't remember which one it was, though. Because one, I had to fight the little velociraptor animal things. And you have to face a big elemental versions of them. So it was the acidic ones. And there was like a group of like 5 or 6 of them. Holy crap, that was hard. But it was super fun. So, I'm fighting them. But the mission I really liked was this berserker in the desert out in Las Vegas. Which was cool because, I get to visit Las Vegas again after doing the story mission that's in Las Vegas. There's a bunch of neon. It's super cool. But you go out into the middle of the desert. Which, by the way, the desert in this game particularly is freaking top notch. The sand, the movement of the sand, I don't know how they do it. It's like they animated each individual grain of sand.
Did you see the scorpion making its path through, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
The scorpion doing what?
Like making its way through the sand.
Yes. Holy crap. So,
that's dope.
Dude, it's all dope. I don't know how they animated the sand like that for when you're walking through and it's just kind of spreading around you, and if you slide in it, it makes a little slide path. But there's a robot, and it's freaking massive. And it's honestly like, like one of the big alligators you see in the game. It's like that, but even bigger. It reminds me a lot of the Decepticons from the Transformers movies. But this thing, freaking jump scares me because it's like, okay, it's at this location. So I go to this location, and it's apparently it tunnels through the sand. So it's tunneling through the sand, and I walk up, I get to the top of the hill, and I'm like, where the hell is this thing? All of a sudden, it's like Jaws. It just pops up out of the sand, and I start. One of the greatest things about Horizon is if you press the roll button, even if that fucker lands on top of you, you somehow dodged it. So he definitely landed on top of me.
And, my mac and cheese.
It's done right
And
here.
I'm rolling through. I'm rolling through this big giant ass berserker type. I don't remember what it's called. I think it starts with a B, but it pops out of the sand, and I'm rolling, trying to avoid the thing, and it takes forever to kill. I admit. But it was so freaking fun because it comes out of the sand. It's like Jaws. Every couple seconds you get a few shots in. It tunnels back in the sand, and you're trying to figure out where it's going to come out of. It pops back up, shoots fire at you, and does all kinds of cool stuff. And this is a side quest. This is a job I did just to get an upgraded weapon. But it's honestly like my favorite boss battle that I've played in this Horizon game so far.
Oh, yeah.
So there's my favorite side quest.
I'm glad that, because I know you were, I wouldn't say down, but you were hesitant on the first one.
I wasn't excited. I was not excited, which, that sometimes that helps. We'll talk about the Uncharted movie a little later, maybe, after we talk about Elden Ring and stuff. But for me, I was not excited for this. I was excited to a point just because, hey, it's another game for me to play. I haven't had anything to play for a while. So, this game coming out was kind of, exciting in that sense. But other than that, the story of the first game I didn't like it. I liked the combat in the first game, but it got old and the story didn't make me want to continue playing. This game, I actually want to continue playing.
Yeah, and just because we're not pushing it too stressed for time, but I gotta get off a little bit, earlier than normal anyway. So I'm gonna jump in here and say just a couple of the things because for the most part we've been nothing but pro on it.
Yeah,
and it deserves that and every right.
Yeah,
and it reminds me of like GTA 5. I know it sounds crazy in Red Dead 2, but like taking to the next level because GTA 5 and Red Dead 2 are both extremely acted well, extremely engrossing. Like, I wouldn't say believable because we don't believe Horizon, right?
Right.
But the way it's executed helps it be believable.
Yeah.
But one of my biggest complaints about the game right now is they give you a dialogue wheel that absolutely means shit.
Okay, yeah. I don't use that much. There's one character I used it on, and that was Hades, because I thought it would be cool to see, he's evil, and I wanted to see what he would answer with.
Other than getting a different monologue and or more information about what they're saying and how they're saying it, it literally has no play on the game. And from my understanding, it has no play on the story.
Nope.
And it's one of them things where
you
it's
get a
just
little
like,
bit of background, but who cares?
I'm going to give you like 7 really quick monologues, and I want you to tell me what Aloy says. The first one is, hey, will you have a beer with me? Second one, hey, maybe when you're done with this, we can, settle down. Third one, hey, when you're done with this, maybe we'll have time to play chess. Hey, when you're done with X, Y, or Z, maybe you can come over here and I can actually show you this. What do you think Aloy says in every single one of them altercations?
Let's do something else.
Yeah, it's literally maybe every single time, and it bugs the shit out of me because it's like
I don't mess up. I do the
well?
objective one of leave the conversation.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the point of what they should have done, and maybe that's what they should have done because like Mass Effect has reasons why you shouldn't, and I know there's certain dialogue wheels that give you like brain, as in smarts, heart, as in love, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. Like there's 3 options there, and maybe those have a different play on maybe how the story can be played that hasn't been portrayed to us yet. But like, and then this is a perfect example. There's a side character pretty much at the early of the game, and it's almost like, can you have a loving relationship with this character? I believe you can. Also, before that happens, there's another side character before that happens where it's a possibility that you can have a loving relationship with that person.
Yeah.
But yet, both interactions is Aloy saying, "Yeah, maybe after I save the world again, maybe." And I'm just like, "Come on! Like, why do you even throw the options out there?" You know what I'm getting at? Like,
yeah.
so that's kind of one of my like beefs with a little bit of the game.
I agree.
And that's probably the biggest one. Other than that, because like as you're alluding to, I do feel like sometimes the weapons are useless.
Oh,
because like I feel like you can play the game with pretty much your starting bow and whatever that bow may consist of, the whole game. To be honest, and I'm not saying that as hyperbole in some ways, but like
I feel the same way about the skill trees.
Yeah, like there's exactly the skill trees. Like I think I would almost venture to bet on 80 to 90% of any player portion and the people who play this game would go into 2 skill trees, and that would be it.
Yep.
Which would be
the actual
hunter.
Yep, the bow one, the hunter, and probably the potion one or the melee one.
Well, see, I was thinking the melee one, and then either the potion one and or the silent one, like the stealth, would be the other 2 that I feel like. So I feel like one of them 2, the hunter or the melee, would be like your main. I guess you can say
the hunter is definitely the main one.
And then the 2 that you would sub go off of would be the potion and or the I just lost train of thought. Whatever I said prior to it. Yeah. And I'm sure there's some people out there, man, 3% of the players like, oh man, I'm trapper all the way. What are you talking about? But like I just it's the other issue is in that game is like I don't get it, right? And it seems like they don't reward you enough if you really want to play that style, or they're trying to direct you to only playing that style, which I think is just as bad. Yeah. Because they actually, let's say, lock certain weapon usages and how you would use them per them skill trees.
Yep.
So it's kind of like if you really like to use X weapon, technically you should invest in X tree. But you may like to use that weapon, but the passives, the Valor, whatever that is, the Valor charge, like may be completely useless for the way you play. Yep. So like, again, I guess they're trying to break it out from Horizon 1. I still think it's a miss. Like I feel like they missed on that one. Now with that being said, I haven't beat the game and I haven't got to post game.
I haven't either.
And if it's a possibility that you can unlock everything, then that's completely thrown out, right? Because then you can. It doesn't matter.
Then it doesn't matter. Again, I will say that I've pretty much filled up the hunter tree. And then I'm about halfway on the potion tree, and I don't think I'm even halfway through the game. Well, I'm probably halfway. I'm probably halfway, actually.
Yeah, but again, that's our early thoughts. And kind of my allusion to, we like alluded to earlier, so we can kind of wrap this up a little bit, and then we'll hear your last thoughts on the Uncharted movie.
Yeah,
I think it's the pinnacle of the overused open world formula, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
like it's Far Cry 6, but better, if that makes Yeah. And I think the game does a whole lot better with interactions because of the machine variety, which I think, like you were alluding to in the side quest, that can't be underspoken. But in my head, sometimes I'm like, some of the combat falls flat until you get into those interactions.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a weird thing. Maybe it's supposed to be that way. But yeah, like with the way the game's delivered, the way the story's portrayed, the way the acting takes place, and the way they actually capture the acting per the actual people who are acting is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it gives me hope that like we're getting to a point now where like, dude, I'm going to be enamored by it because the way the character sold it to me to do the side quest. I'm like, awesome. Because it used to be, hey, there's a yellow exclamation mark, which in this game is green. Yeah. There's a green exclamation mark, and you walk up to them, and it's like, oh, I'll get 2,000 XP and this and this. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. But now it's like you want to see that character really tell you what
happens in the story.
Yeah. So like that part is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
have you seen all the memes with this game, by the way? Now that Elden Rings came out and it's a 10 out of 10, they're making jokes about Horizon always being the game that comes out before the 10 out of 10. And somebody said, I can't wait I can't wait for the Horizon VR game to come out so that the next week a 10 out of 10 VR game, best ever, will release.
And I'm going to use that as a segue.
Yeah.
Because Horizon is literally your favorite ingredients of a cupcake that you could eat. If you're a red velvet fan, it's the best cream cheese and the best red velvet cake that's ever baked.
Yep.
Whereas Elden Ring is the same cupcake, but for whatever reason, they added some other ingredient that you would never expect that would kind of go with that.
Yeah.
But yet, it just blows your mind. It blows your palate. And I've only played, I'm not even 3 to 4 hours of Elden Ring.
Yeah.
My caveat, and again, next week, I want to dive more on this because I want to hear what you said in Uncharted. We can wrap this up. But, it literally, I think it does play a little heavy on if you've played these games before.
Yeah.
Combat mostly, for instance, if you're doing a stealth attack, it's a hold RB or hold L1, or excuse me, R1. And that's only because I've played prior games. It doesn't tell you that. So if you walk up someone behind and it's a stealth attack and you hit R1, you're just going to slash them, right? It doesn't tell you that it needs to be held. I'm sure you can read into the online manual, e-manual, or whatever. But there is a lot in this game that's just saying, hey, we know you probably like these games and have played these games if you're playing this game.
Right.
And I know some reviews have said some issues about that, saying that the onboarding needs to be a little bit better. And I agree with that. The onboarding probably needs to be a little bit better because of those given reasons. And there's other things along those lines too that are kind of hit or miss because it literally, dude, 10 minutes in, you're thrown into the open world and it's just go have fun or go do whatever you want to do. Go see. I mean,
again, just like Breath and hate your life.
The only thing about Breath of the Wild is it does a little bit better of I don't know, everybody's up prepared. Well, not necessarily build up. Dude, there's a boss within 10 feet of coming out of your Breath of the Wild moment. And unless you're phenomenal at this game, dude, it's going to whack you every time. There's no way around it. And I'm just sitting there in my head okay, yeah, I'll go around it. But at Breath of the Wild, it didn't have that, right?
No.
It was just you can walk around and not worried about getting completely destroyed.
It's very much setting you up to realize what type of game that is. And that's not a type of game I'm into. But I'm glad you are.
Yeah, and again, that's literally the biggest take on that game is I feel like you have to have some knowledge or some sense of what came prior to it.
Yeah.
And if you do and you know what you're getting into, then the game opens up in every way every review has said. Because it is just like Breath of the Wild in so many ways of I told you in a text earlier, we were talking about it, I have FOMO or fear of missing out because it's I want to see this or do this. And then you turn this corner and there's this 3-story giant walking by at the club and you're whoa.
Fuck.
You know what I'm saying? There's something homeschool about it. And it's really weird because I want to beat both of these games. And I literally actually am leaning towards Horizon first just because Horizon will get me to where I want to get first. Whereas this game, I kind of feel I want to live and breathe it.
Right.
As long as I can and not be pressured to beat it, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different style game. The narrative is completely vague, which is every single game that's ever released.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's somewhat direct, but at the same time, it's completely vague the way it's delivered to you. So then, on that point, with the facial animations, dude, it's just a mouth moving. It's not trying to lip the words or actually motion cap. You know what I'm saying? And then again, it is what it is. And the way I look at it is you're looking at one of the best directed Hollywood films that you can think of in Horizon. And then you're looking at literally the best indie film. I'm not saying Elden Ring's an indie film. I'm talking about just the way it's presented. But the best indie film that's going to hit you in the gut and make you stay up at night in Elden Ring. And that's the two distinctions. And to me, it's and I kind of alluded to this earlier, both can be 10s, right?
Yeah.
Because for sure, and this is what, some reviews I've read and some stuff is like the staleness of what has happened with open worlds. That's Horizon. Like, we've seen this, we've done this, we've played this, we've kind of been around. They just took it to the nth level. Whereas this game is like, hey, remember Breath of the Wild? Because Breath of the Wild, I hate to say it, it's the most comparable. I don't care if anyone gets mad at me or whatever, but Breath of the Wild is hands down the most comparable game to Elden Ring right now.
Yeah.
Except it's just in the Elden Ring formula of combat, art direction, style, like, because that style is oozing with. I mean, it's amazing. And that's the biggest difference, right? And it brings me back to the fact of like when you used to play, like, Elden Ring makes me think of playing Guitar Hero. Mm-hmm. People are like, what are you talking about? Like, dude, I remember spending hours and hours trying to beat Through the Fire and Flames on Expert.
Oh, yeah. I remember
and
that.
when I finally beat it, dude, it was just one of them moments of like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's what games used.
That's impressive.
But that's what games used to be, and even to the back of the day when you used to play, I called it on our, I think we had texted like quarter per play, where like you put a quarter in and you literally went as far as hard as you possibly could to hopefully get your name on the top 10.
Yeah.
And that's Elden Ring taken from the earliest of the 80s, mid 80s to now. Because it literally is that kind of like, hey, we believe in the player. We believe in the player can do this. You're going to do this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas Horizon is the complete opposite of what modern day gaming is. It's like, hey, look, we can actually direct a film within some kind of gameplay experience, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Horizon I see as being more of the acceptable way forward.
Yeah.
With Elden Ring literally being like the indie narrative kind of thing. But like, I think the reason why Elden Ring is reviewing as well as it is because it is such a break from the norm.
Right.
And it does what it does so well. It's a break from the monotony of what we played. It's in that way something new. I guess you would say this sense of scale, the sense of exploration is different because you could turn a corner and a pebble can be a demonic beast. Like it's just weird in that way. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing them both. And if you had to sit there and people are like, hey, which one do you like better? I think it's the argument that in some ways shouldn't be had because in every right, both of these games can deserve to be like top 10s, if that makes any sense. Because they're doing something better than the other one's not doing, but just in a different direction.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just a little caveat though. It doesn't run that well right now. And this is like day 2 on release for Elden Ring. I played on the Series X, and I'm not having too bad of issues, but they released a 1.02 patch, and there's some serious issues, and I can't name all the issues, but I know like PS5 has some saving issues. I know Digital Foundry at this point in time even said, hey, like you should play the PS4 version on the PS5 so you can actually run at a solid 60 frames if you're looking for that kind of gameplay. Don't know how that happened or why it happened, but that is out there. Be aware of it. And I know PC even has issues too. So it's one of them things where
issues.
Yeah, so those issues are out there. As of right now, I'm about 3 to 4 hours in it. I literally haven't experienced anything to take away from that. But I do know people who have, got the game early and considered like that. There is those things, and to the point of some people saying, hey, hold off until 103 patch or hold off until a sale even, just because they want to run a little more optimal. And maybe in my head, I'm feeling like, because, Horizon did a solid like quality lock at 30 frames. Mm-hmm. So in my head, I'm like, maybe they should have done that because it's a soft lock. Because like on the Series X, if you do the quality mode, which is like the graphics mode, like 30 is supposed to be the base, but it can get as high as like 35, for instance. So I don't know. Maybe it's something on the development team in some ways they could look into it. I'm not really sure. I just want to throw that out there before, just saying, because if you do get it and you see some of those technical issues, they are right now apparent and they can affect your gameplay.
Gotcha. Well, glad you let people know because, it always sucks when you get a launch game and it's just buggy.
Yeah, it's not to say buggy. It's just
annoying.
Framey.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I guess to wrap things up, I'll talk about Uncharted real quick, and then we can kind of bounce. But with the Uncharted movie, I'll give a little 60-second review of it. Don't go see it if you want an Uncharted movie. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good movie. Good to okay is what I would put it at. It's not great. Don't come expecting Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Don't go see Uncharted for that. But if you want like a national treasure movie, if you just want a good time, good popcorn movie, basically Fast and Furious. If you're a Fast and Furious fan, I highly recommend Uncharted.
Okay.
The casting isn't there for the characters, but it's good enough to where, things, I have hope for a sequel, which I think is going to get it. Made enough money to get a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah,
sequel for sure.
go out, see Uncharted. I'll tell you, won't have a bad time. If you're a huge fan of the franchise, it is. Don't go in thinking this is Uncharted, because it's not. But go in thinking this is going to be a fun treasure hunting movie. I will say that all the people that I watched the movie with loved it, compared to me.
Well, like you said, that's concerning for people who've played it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I won't say that it's a bad movie, but
Yeah,
it's okay.
I will see it. I'm not going to go in theaters and see it, but I will watch it when it comes to either on demand or
Yeah, I
Redbox
recommend
or
that.
whatever it may be. It's interesting because we know Sony's having a pretty good push towards that, and we know that like already The Last of Us, which I feel like they're doing. I feel like they're giving more attention and care to The Last of Us, even though like Uncharted's already out. But at the same time, like HBO is prestige, right? When it comes to these shows, like
Yeah.
you know that it's going to be more likely, genre bending, or it's going to be null. Like people want to talk about it every week per release, like every episode. So it's kind of weird how they kind of did it, and it makes sense though because like Uncharted is kind of bombastic, right? Like you wouldn't in a 2-hour frame, Uncharted fits better than The Last of Us, right? Because you can literally sell monologues in The Last of Us, whereas Uncharted, the monologue would be Drake like, "Yeah, man, this treasure, dude, it's shiny," Like,
Yeah, exactly.
So I get, per each franchise, and it's just interesting because of how well they did. I don't think Sony's done. I think, like you alluded to, Uncharted 2 is probably going to happen. I'm just curious what other IPs, because they've already tried Ratchet and Clank, by the way. First of all, that was one of the first
God
ones.
of War, and I think
But see, like God of War, I think could be best served with the series as well.
Ghost of Tsushima too.
Ghost of Tsushima, on the other hand, could be a dope movie because even though it could be a series, but also the way it's actually presented to you. I think Sucker Punch, by the way, not Sucker Punch, I said that, but Infamous, if they actually really want to do something great with that brand, with all the hero craze that's going on right now, dude, you're talking about a show, man. Like that could be a legit show because you can flesh out that whole universe in so many ways. And that I'm just curious, man, because I think the way this hit, regardless of like, your kind of review of like, yeah, it's a great popcorn film, more or less. It's opened the door that like Sony's going to obviously dig deep and say like, hey, let's look at all the IPs that we have. Let's extrapolate them out and let's get something going. And that can be exciting, And if you're a Sony fan and you love the IPs and you want to see them on the big screen, or not even the big screen, the little big screen, which is what I'm going to allude to, little big screen now for all means streaming services. We might have something going, and like I said, we're talking about Horizon, and I think it would be really dope. Instead of Jurassic Park, we have Horizon with metal T-Rexes. I mean,
Yeah,
that could be sick,
yeah, it would be cool.
It's one of them things where I'm kind of glad it hit the way it hit. I think you're going to see more and more of this stuff because these IPs, this way of form of media, including games, it's all becoming so interchangeable now. I wouldn't be surprised if, because we know, for instance, Halo was coming out early March or mid March or late March or whatever it may be, but Paramount's dropping Halo, and hopefully they've already greenlit a season 2, which hints at it should be at least a serviceable show, right?
Yep.
So like that kind of sends a signal that like, hey, Microsoft may be jumping in these things too, and Microsoft, even though people like, we were talking about the Activision, but like I could see a Call of Duty movie within the framework of a war movie, possibly bringing in millions, on billions possibly. So like I can see all these industries saying, hey, I mean, look, we got Mario coming out at the end of the year, dude. You know what I'm saying?
God.
Like, I think Sony's just the first to get to it because Sony already had Sony films from years, man. They put the first Spider-Man out, for instance, with Sony. So like, it's just a matter of time before they just started getting into the IP from the video game side. So like, yeah, for sure. Like, I think this is a new thing. I think you're going to see more of it. My guess is you're going to see a Gears of War for sure. We've already seen The Last of Us. You might even see like a SOCOM, like whatever you think can be in any ways. I would not put it off the table. Period. Crash Bandicoot, Netflix animation, it's happening. We already got Cuphead, so.
Hey, they had a Spyro show on Netflix for a little while, so it wouldn't surprise me none. Wouldn't surprise me, son. But this was Devil's Advocate, a video podcast. Please like, subscribe. Just tune in next time for Keaton talking about Elden Ring. But I hope you enjoyed the show, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And we'll see you next time.